our team spoke with a survivor of domestic abuse who, for this reason, will be called Jane Grey.
It was very simple, but which is why it was so easy to forgive. It was a poke between my eyes. When it happened, I was in shock because I had never really been exposed to anything like that before. And so when he apologized, I thought it was probably just emotions running high at the time, and that it, as he promised, it would never happen again. It happened maybe about 6 months to a year afterwards. This time it was more intense. This time it was actual hitting, and this time it was the product of an argument. So we had an argument first, and then um, emotions are probably running a little high or getting a little excited about the argument, and all of a sudden I'm being hit. Initially, I didn't say anything to anyone. Then I think maybe the fact that I didn't say anything initially is what caused it to intensify. I was taught pretty recently that not saying anything is actually helping him to keep his secret.
Keep our family business our business, all right?
And so I didn't say anything to anyone initially. When I finally started talking about it, I spoke to somebody who, an acquaintance. She wasn't my best friend. She wasn't somebody that I saw very regularly, but I spoke to her about it, and um, she advised me to try to get out of the relationship. By that time, I had so much invested in it that it was very difficult to do it at the time. I tried to call the police on a number of occasions, and during our tussles, he would normally take the phone from me, or he would kick it away, or damage the phone. And in the cases that I did manage to call the police, I called them once, and my neighbor got involved, and she advised me not to. She advised me to call them and to, not draw attention to the community because of the embarrassment that it would cause for me and my family. On the second occasion, I called and I left and I waited for them outside. And when they got there, I explicitly asked that he not be allowed to stay inside the house. And they they spoke to both of us, and they asked us to not not fight tonight, but talk about it tomorrow, which I thought was a little counterproductive because about 10 minutes before that, or maybe about 20 minutes before that, his hands were around my neck, pretty much suffocating me. So I didn't think it was safe for me to be in the house with him overnight. My family did come in at a very late stage when I decided to leave. I advised my family. They were supportive. I had some friends, however, that they offered. I'm not sure if you would want to call that support. To me, it felt like judgment. And that is why I feel the way I do about these situations now, because I think that is unfair to women. You are victimized in the relationship, and everybody else makes you feel as if it is your fault. The police, when I called them on the evening, asked me, why didn't you give him what he wanted? Why didn't you answer the question that he asked you? Why are you taking a call at that hour of the night? Um, as far as I'm concerned, we are two grown people. So there shouldn't be one set of rules for me and one set for you. Um, Friends offer judgment. Why did you stay so long? Why didn't you leave? It is very difficult for somebody to be in a situation and make the same decision as it would be for somebody looking on. And so I think that maybe that is why many women don't come forward. Many women sit and decide that they can stand it, they can take it for the sake of the children, for the sake of the job, for the sake of his job, for the sake of not being embarrassed by within your community for your neighbors looking at you funny. I think maybe a lot of women don't come forward. A lot of women don't leave because of that. So they suffer by the hands. They suffer at the hands of this man, and then they're gonna suffer at the hands of society because everybody has to offer is judgment as to why you didn't leave or why you stay there and take it. And you can't stay there, make the man kick and box you. That is the response that I know personally that I got, and I know other women who have felt that kind of response. I had a fear. I had a fear that he would tell people. I had a fear that he would talk about things within our relationship. Um, I had a fear that he would hurt me. I had a fear that he would not help to support our family anymore. And the long and short of it is that I love this man. So in my heart, somewhere deep in the back of my heart, I'm here thinking that he can change, or he can decide one day that he's not going to do this. He will realize that I am his wife and that this is not what he's here to do. He will understand the teachings of the Bible that said, husband, love your wives like the Lord loved the church. And as such, he will get up one day. I prayed for him. I prayed for him daily, that he would understand one day that that is not what I'm here for. And the fact that I did not retaliate made it easier. On the occasions that I did respond to him, those were the occasions that the abuse was worse. So, I mean, every woman, I think, have their different coping mechanisms. Some suffer in silence. Some don't respond when they're being hit. Some scream, but you never know. You don't know how to respond in a situation until you're in it yourself.
Till it happens to you, you don't know how I feel. How I feel.
We must admit, we must understand that the reason men and women get into these relationships because they like each other, they love each other. So when it becomes abusive, it is very difficult for a woman to just get up one day and decide that she's not going to love this man because you are in this relationship because you love him. And everything that you have up to this point has been because you decided to be together. So right now, I am not at the place where I judge a woman for leaving the man and going back to him because there's a bond. And there's no woman, I think, that loves to be abused. I think that the women love the men. And somewhere they think they can change them. I was there for maybe about 7 years. And I decided at about 7 years that the very next time that he does this, I'm going to leave. I had my own awakening, my own personal awakening. And it was through a story that I was told about a woman who had cancer. And she too was in one of those relationships, and every other day her skin would be black and blue. And they suspected that that is what caused all of this terminal cancer in her body. Whether or not that was true, I took it upon myself to heed that story. And I decided that the very next time that we had an incident like that, I would leave. It didn't happen for quite a few months. So much so to the point that I thought it had stopped. And so when it happened, I had already made up my mind, which is why when I called the police, this time I went outside. I didn't stay inside with him, which is why when they told me that I should stay with him for another night, I pretty much was beside myself because I wasn't thinking that I wanted to go and hug up my husband tonight. I was thinking that I need for this man to be out of this house. And so my mind was already made up. So when it happened, it was pretty much the straw that broke the camel's back. I had no idea what I was going to do. Um, this had been my partner for years. I mean, not as far as a 25-year marriage, but we had some significant time together. And I just decided that regardless of what happened, I was not going back. All of the apologies and the I'll never do it again and I love my family and I want to be with you, all of those things came. But I prayed and I just asked God to give me the strength to say no every time. It was very rough for the first year. I I had serious financial difficulties. I I got some assistance from family, but and he himself tried to spite me, tried to spite our family by not assisting financially. Um, Luckily, I was able to see that for what it was, and I held my own. I struggled for a while until I was able to, start working again. And I mean, the rest is history.